Let's talk supply chain.
So welcome back to the show, Bill. I'm so excited to have you here. The last time I saw you was a year ago today.
Yeah, and I'm just as tall as I was last time. It's nice to see you as well.
Well, and it's so fun to be at the OneRail booth here at Home Delivery World in Philadelphia, talking about data and talking about strategy and visibility. And I always love to hear what's happening with OneRail. But before we do that, tell us just a little bit about what OneRail does. Remind us of what you do.
Yeah, so we're a complete end-to-end last-mile fulfillment solution. We make it easy for our customers to fulfill from store, same day or next day, or warehouse. Don't ever think of us like a parcel shipping solution, because what we're doing is delivering in localized markets. So think about turning a store into a warehouse, and think about turning a warehouse into a localized delivery zone. That's what we do. And so we built a network of 12 million drivers. We have an operating system. We do 12 million.
That's a lot.
And we have a team that manages all that. They manage all the delivery exceptions. So that's what we do, kind of end-to-end fulfillment.
Managing exceptions, right? That's what technology is supposed to do. Is we're just supposed to be managing exceptions. So I love that.
Yes.
All right. So talk to us about the latest at OneRail. What's new? What can you share with us? What's exciting?
Well, we've had a few exciting things happen this year. It's been a big year so far. Starts with, we made a big announcement back in May that we launched inventory visibility. We announced it at Gartner. It's really something that retailers need. You turn on CNBC, you can't hear an earnings call from a retailer without hearing about product shrinkage. When you look at shrinkage, about 65% of that is theft. And what our solution's doing is it's identifying right down to a SKU level where that product went missing between the first and last mile.
So that's a really big problem, I think, for retailers right now.
Yeah.
And the data sort of shows that. You said 65%. Talk to us about why that's such a problem right now, why it's a growing problem for retailers, and how are you talking to your customers about this?
It's interdependencies. So if you think about it, right, it was easy when it was single channel commerce. But now that there's so many different channels, there's so many different shipping options, customers have demands that they didn't have before. When product starts to move more, there's more risk.
Yeah.
And customers are counting on that product being at the store. But if it goes missing 500 miles ago and the retailer doesn't know it, there's a mismatch in supply and demand. So a lot of work, a lot of money goes into demand planning. All that work goes out the window when items, pallets go missing, totes, bins. And that's what we're doing, is we're tracking it literally from an item all the way up through a pallet.
It's so true. And all that time wasted.
Yeah.
Like, you think about ROI from a financial standpoint.
Oh, yeah.
But then think about all the time wasted ahead of time.
Right.
And then when that theft happens, trying to find it, if you're going to get that inventory back, if you're not, you got to do some reorders and shuffle around customer orders as well, right?
That's exactly right. And again, it's not just, it's all the ROI on the fulfillment itself, but then there's a lost sale. So there's lost margin. That customer may not come back.
Capital costs.
Yep. It's big. It's big.
So many. So you did this survey. Yes. That's where the data came from. The 65% which is what you mentioned earlier. Talk to us about the data from the survey. Who did you talk to? What companies did you survey? What kind of questions were you asking? Like, what did you want to know?
Hundreds of retailers. So we commissioned it. It was an independent firm that did it. We helped guide, what we were trying to really understand. But it was really 300 top retailers from all different channels, from boutique, retailers all the way up through to some larger Fortune 500 retailers. And the data was pretty similar. Cart abandonment, it's funny because when you start looking at the inventory problem, that translates into having an order that's not in full, which translates into abandonment. There's just a chain reaction that happens.
Yeah.
So that we commissioned the data, commissioned the research ourselves with an independent party. It was Trend Candy, which is who we used. Used him a few times. Yeah, Trend Candy. He does a great job. Has part of the Forbes Tech Council. So we're real happy with it. We've utilized him on a few projects now, and it's something that we're not done researching. We want to keep asking the next 3 or 4 whys.
But everything's changing so fast, right? And I love the fact that you're able to get that data from your clients so that you can make the decisions that you need to make as a tech platform for the industry, but you're making the right decisions and the right pathways and creating the right functionality that they need.
They tell us, and that's really what OneRail does. Our customers tell us the rules. We enforce the rules.
Okay.
So it's completely configurable. We now have spun up another new thing, data science and AI department about a year ago. And that team has helped us save millions of dollars on transportation. Yeah. Just by identifying dispatches of deliveries. We're doing like 250,000 deliveries a day. So when you start looking at outliers, a delivery that might cost 10 times the amount of money because there's a capacity gap at a certain time of day, but we know tomorrow that gap's going to be there, we can plan for it. So we're using and leveraging our own internal data science and AI team now that's led by our former CTO. Our first CTO is now our head of AI.
I love that.
So it's all about doing what our customers are trying to do to create a great brand experience for their customers, right?
Yeah.
There's one common thread with every OneRail customer. We serve our customers' customer.
Yeah. Well, and you kind of need to do that in this day and age with the industry. When you're thinking about your customer, it's not really just about them. It reaches so much further.
Oh, yeah.
Then, right? And I love what you're talking about AI. I was listening to an example the other day of there was 2 routes to delivery, and one was shorter in miles or distance.
Right.
But it actually took them 2 days longer to get there.
2 days. Wow.
And the reason being is because there was only 2 rest stops, whereas the longer route had more rest stops. And they got there 2 days faster.
Yeah.
So the use of data, the use of AI in these particular examples is huge.
It is huge. And if you look at our operations, we have 45 people that manage exceptions. When we 45 sounds like a lot, but when we started, one person could manage 80 deliveries a day. Now one person can manage almost 3,000 deliveries a day.
What?
Yeah. And it's all machine learning, 100% of it.
Wow.
We're anticipating exactly which courier is the best one based on time of day, type of product, speed of delivery. That's really where our intellectual property is picking the right couriers based on historical data.
Absolutely. Okay, so there's something called Omnipoint Inventory Visibility.
Yes.
This came out of the survey, I believe. It's tackling a lot of challenges that your customers have. Talk to us about those challenges and how this visibility is helping.
So the visibility starts at the port. So it actually goes way beyond, goes upstream to first mile.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're integrating with first mile and middle mile providers to be able to get their transportation data.
Okay.
And then what we're doing is stitching that data with inventory data. So think about when a product is on a pallet, it gets offloaded at the port, it ends up going to a warehouse. When it gets to that warehouse, it gets scanned in. We're capturing that scan.
Okay.
We're capturing the next scan out of the warehouse. So think of it as debits and credits. We know what went in, we know what came out, all the way down to an item.
Okay.
So imagine stitching that together, right, for 2 or 3 warehouse stops, ultimately to the store. When you stitch all that together, you have a complete chain of custody view of the product, and where it goes missing is the most important part. And there's patterns in that.
Well, in the chain of custody.
Yeah.
Right? We talk about supply chains. We talk about it going from origin to destination, but there's so many points in between that we have to account for and we have to understand. And I remember, because I come from logistics, right?
Right.
I was in ocean freight, I was in air freight. Things went missing all the time.
Right.
But it was like you'd call the warehouse, we're looking for it. It might be a week.
Right.
But how much of that capital is tied up in something that goes missing that we could potentially find right away? And if you know what point in the chain that it actually happens, it's so much easier. We don't have to play the blame game.
Oh, that's right. And it is an immense amount of capital. You talk about a Fortune 500 retailer that might be carrying, $10 billion worth of inventory. You start talking 3 to 6%.
Right.
That's a big number.
That's a huge number.
And that, again, yes, to the point you made earlier, you're not accounting for the ROI on the time.
Yeah.
All the stack that you've licensed to manage that inventory that you're not using properly, all the people that have touched it. So, and then ultimately the unhappy customer. So yeah, it's kind of amazing what that ROI looks like.
Yeah.
Honestly, we're still figuring it out as we work with our customers, but it's immense.
But it has to be that journey.
It is.
Right? You can't be everything to everybody as a technology provider. And some people put themselves out in the industry like that.
Yes.
There are so many things changing so quickly, which is what I mentioned earlier. But you have to be okay to be on that journey. Your customers need to be okay with that.
Right.
OneRail has to be okay with that. Talking about it figuring out new solutions, because there's things that we haven't even thought about that are going to come down the pipe.
Oh, totally. I mean, the moment that we don't provide value to our customers, we don't get to be on that journey.
Right.
Right. And so that's why we continue to innovate. We are announcing a really cool product next month too. It's really a first and last mile. First in the last mile, not first and last mile. Be careful there. And of course, we have some news we're announcing here at the conference. So yeah, there's a lot that we do to continue to position ourselves.
Well, we're going to get to
that
those
whole fulfillment
I
stream.
want to hear about those two announcements. This episode's not coming out for a little bit. So
Okay.
I think we might be able to get away with it. But the visibility component, going back to what we talked about, the omni-channel inventory visibility, who is that for? Who would benefit from that? What type of customers? Like if I'm listening to this, I'm like, I love what Bill has to say at OneRail. I want to pick up the phone, or I want to do some research. Who do I need to be for that to make sense?
The kind of the ICP, right? The ideal customer profile is a retailer that has many locations, many store locations, that has many warehouse nodes and DCs, maybe even some micro fulfillment centers. The more nodes, the more location, the bigger the problem.
Yeah.
It's not that it wouldn't be great for a wholesale product distributor, but it's the retailers that have the bigger problem because they have more volatility on the demand side too. They have customers that want many different shipping options. So the
That's
more
very true.
Right. The more permutations there are, and when you have inventory that just disappears, that's what creates problems.
Yeah.
If it's a stable 12 DCs and they're selling to one type of customer with one shipping promise, it's really not going to unlock that much value.
Yeah.
Because they may just be using their warehouse management system. The other type of customer that benefits is one that uses lots of different inbound carriers.
Yeah.
If you're only using your own fleet for inbound or one fleet, it's a lot easier to identify.
Yep.
Right? You can just look at your WMS.
Yeah.
When there's many carriers bringing product in from the port, there's many distribution points. That's where the unlock is.
Yeah, I mean, just to get an example, I was talking to somebody the other day that has 8 freight forwarders.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's, on the import side, when we talk about carriers, people are having 2x, 3 times more than that when it comes to local deliveries and trying to figure out how to get their products to their customers. And so think about managing all of that. And if something goes missing, who are you calling?
Yeah,
Where in the chain did that happen?
Right. Our first customer that we onboarded for this had 60 LTL carriers.
60.
So a lot.
Wow.
Now, of the 60, about 7 of them did 80%, but there's still all that variance there. So it's a complex problem, but it's interesting because we of course had the feedback. Well, don't the visibility platforms do that? They don't get granular down to the SKU.
Okay.
They have good transportation records. The inventory records are too high in the hierarchy. They don't get down to the SKU level.
So we talk a lot about data and empowering teams to be able to have the right data, to ask the right questions. I think sometimes it's hard to know what are the right questions.
Right.
And you talk about being that data layer.
Yes.
Between operations, but then also helping with theft and shrinkage and things like that. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you're empowering supply chain teams to ask the right questions so they can make the right decisions that they need to make?
Yeah, it's funny when we branded our slogan, it was dispatch to doorstep. That was We went with that because we really had a full, complete last mile solution. So dispatch, doorstep,
right,
endpoints, bookends, right? It's not relevant anymore. It's data to doorstep.
Oh, I got it.
So we're moving up in the order stream, letting our customers have visibility to data they never had. And what that means is, if you take a last mile fulfillment example, they could be working with 50 to 100 couriers. All those couriers are sending them data different ways. Some of them aren't even sending them data. Right. What we're doing is we're normalizing that data layer so they can make sense of it and decision upon it. So we're interacting with an OMS, a TMS. A lot of these legacy systems, I call them legacy, they're mature systems of record that are needed to run the business. But a lot of them don't contemplate the granularity of a last mile courier now.
Right.
They do a great job right up to LTL, and then it gets a little bit sketchy. So what we're doing is making it for that driver in the sedan with a DoorDash app to be able to send data to us. That data looks exactly the same as a driver that's using on fleet, as a driver that's using dispatch track.
They're all about logistics? I mean, when we think about it, they all look a little bit different.
They do.
But they really are part of the logistics ecosystem.
Oh.
And let's face it, supply chain professionals aren't necessarily IT professionals.
Right.
And so we need to be able to empower them as technology partners to do their job more effectively, more efficiently, come to their teams with more innovative ideas and
Right.
suggestions on how to optimize using a platform like yours.
I can't make any good decisions to run this business if I don't have data. You know, I call it flying blind, right? So when you start looking at what it takes to be competitive in 2024, you have to be operating from data. And it's funny because without that normalization layer, the visibility companies did the same thing with LTL and full truckload, right? Giving that normalization layer. We're doing the same thing for last mile.
Well, and I think there's a lot of hidden potential within operations.
Oh, yeah.
And you talk a lot about optimizing.
Yes.
Can you know, sort of break that down for us and talk to us about why that's so important and where some of that hidden potential is that maybe supply chain professionals should be looking out for?
What we've seen when we work with a customer that's never been down this path is there's this static relationship between a system and some output. So if you think about TMS, if you were to try to run a fulfill from store program with a TMS, it's not getting granular into all the different courier types.
Right.
So what's going to happen is it might just default it to a courier based on a zip code or a location.
Oh.
What we're doing is we're looking at the cube and the weight of the order,
Right.
and we're like wrapping it around the asset. We're not trying to fit it into an asset. We find a small asset if we have a 5-gallon container of paint, right? That asset's going to be very different than if we had a load of flooring.
Yeah.
So it's the decisioning, it's the optimization of the cube and the weight and how we fit that into the asset type that makes all the difference. So that's just one example of optimization. Now, the other is we'll look at all the data, reams of data. I think we did 15 billion data calls last year, which is immense. I mean,
15 million?
I asked the question on
How do you
LinkedIn,
even manage that?
where was it last year? Like
Right.
before we got there, where was that data?
Yeah.
I always ask that question. But if you look at optimization, we'll advise our customers based on their geography, how fast they should offer delivery. In other words, should it go same day or not? Should it go, can you do 2 hours or not?
Huh.
That's an optimization of service level. So lots of optimization.
That is interesting because me as a consumer, right? There's all sorts of delivery options. I was talking to somebody about that earlier. And sometimes you're sort of questioning, well, why can they do this in this zip code and they can't do it in this zip code?
Yes.
And I encourage them to utilize that data to inform the consumer, this is where you chose to live.
That data, right.
It's going to take you a little bit longer to get delivery.
That data is everything because it might expose that if they were to try to run that program, they'd have a 40% on-time rate. And
Right.
how happy are their customers?
Yeah.
So it's really about optimizing the customer experience around
And
what
giving
you
options.
Right.
And not even really understanding what those options could be.
Right.
Because there is a lot of opportunity and hidden potential in there as well.
Well, and that's really, when we go back to optimization, what optimization's doing is it's taking data and it's making iterative business decisions to reduce cost and improve experience. I mean, that's what we do. Reduce cost, open top line, make the customer happy.
Now, you talked about moving up the order stream to delivery management.
Yep.
Can you talk to us about the benefits of that and helping to make fulfillment decisions through utilizing that part of your platform?
So something, it's interesting. I am giving a keynote today, and it's really, it's on the schedule as dispatch to doorstep.
Okay.
And I changed it. Yeah,
Okay.
and I actually cross out the word dispatch because we can only fix so much from the dispatch to the doorstep. We need to be further up in the order stream, and there's work that needs to be done around inventory placement. For example, out of stocks, pretty big problem. If you go to a lot of leading retailer websites, if you're trying to buy 10 items and they only have 9, you have an item that's not going to fit in that basket, and a lot of them don't have a way to look at a different store to pull that order from. It's just defaulting to the closest store to you because it's cheaper, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't work. So what we're doing is we're going further up the order stream to help make that decision, where a retailer working with us can send us 4 or 5 locations that have inventory in full. We'll help them pick the right location.
Wow.
And maybe it's $2 more because it's not the closest store to you.
Right.
But how much margin are they retaining? Because they're not losing the order.
It's so true. Like looking at costs very differently.
Yeah.
Not the way we've done it, but what actually makes sense to the industry, to the consumer, to the experience.
Right.
And maybe that $2 might cost you initially, but how much money or in time did it save in other areas of the business?
That's
for
right.
you to be able to do that.
100%.
Right?
It's a margin trade-off, right? Yeah. And at the end of the day, you want the most margin you can get. And what ends up happening, maybe you're giving up $2 because it's another 4 miles to deliver. But if you don't do that, it turns into a split order. And now you have a $15 parcel shipment that comes in 5 days later from a DC, and the customer gets their 9 items, and you still have to pay for that too.
Right.
Right. So it's just margin, just shifting margin around, and you should be trying to retain as much margin as you can. So
well, and utilizing that technology, that data to be able to do that, because you can't do that manually. Right? You need the right technology partners to do that. And that's what OneRail will do
it does
for you.
And it not only leverages the data, but it executes upon it. There's a lot of platforms that have data. We really pride ourselves that you can execute a transaction with it, a delivery, or whatever it is you're trying to do. So yeah, it's so much more than visibility. It's the ability to actually change an outcome.
Okay. So now you alluded to this earlier, that you've got some really big announcements coming up.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us about what the future at OneRail looks like? And maybe give us a teaser as to what these announcements are.
Yeah. So, I mean, from day one, we felt inventory is really the key unlock to figuring this whole fulfillment problem out. But first, we wanted to figure out transportation. I feel like we've done a really good job. Again, great operating system, 6 million lines of code, 12 million drivers. We're moving so much data. We're making so many decisions, but there's so much we can't control, around inventory locations, demand planning.
Right.
Yeah, even product information. If we don't have cubes and weights, we can't match the product to the truck.
And they have to be accurate.
They have to be.
Because we've got to keep everybody safe.
Not only do we have to have it has to be right. We're very demanding. So, there's so much. So what we've done is we've acquired a company called OrderBot.
Okay.
And they're based in Canada, your homeland.
Canada?
We could sing "Oh Canada."
OneRail is coming to Canada.
We are. We're excited about it. OrderBot is a distributed order management platform. Also has a very significant inventory management component and product information management.
Okay.
Our whole goal here is to take that to market, honestly, to sit next to OMSs and become really the eye in the sky that then can see the inventory, but also has access to the transportation so that you can make that intelligent decision on which store to fulfill from.
I think of Fast and Furious. I don't know if you've seen movies, but they have that technology platform that they call Eye of something.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
The sky. I was thinking exactly that from Fast and Furious. Yeah. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, it's something the industry hasn't really seen, and if they have, it's been amongst maybe some of the retailers that have invested tens of millions, if not billions of dollars into their own supply chain. So that's something we're excited to offer to retailers that don't have tens of millions or billions of dollars to invest in their supply chain. You can sit right on top of their Sterling platform or whatever OMS they're using and work with our transportation to make those decisions. So OrderBot brings us Staples Canada, which we're excited about, puts us nationwide in Canada with order management.
Pretty much right away. Staples all across the country.
Yeah, they're a great company.
Awesome.
And PetSense, they're big here in the U.S. Division of Tractor Supply. So yeah, we're excited. Going up the order stream's been our goal from day one, and I'm excited that we're finally in a place where we can do that. Okay,
and so what excites you about the future for OneRail, other than these announcements that are coming out? I mean, you're constantly innovating. You, your team, you're constantly looking at the industry. Is there anything that maybe folks should be watching for, thinking about?
We have to draw a line around it somewhere, we do. Because the whole goal is to enable our customers to fulfill efficiently. And that's our mission, right? Is to give our customers competitive advantage with supply chain.
Yeah.
So that means giving them tools, right, that maybe Amazon has, that Amazon spent a lot of money and time building. Are we the size of Amazon? Absolutely not. But if we take our technology, our know-how, everything we do, merge it with our customers who are big customers. We can absolutely empower them to fulfill as good or better than Amazon. We can. That's our mission, right? Is to provide that capability. We can't do it just with delivery. So that's why the acquisition was important. Returns is something that we're also looking at. That's a $800 billion problem.
Yes, it is. I had a really big retail brand take 8 weeks to give me a label to return a product that I bought from them. And every time I looked at the box, I was like, this is costing you so much money.
Oh, yeah.
Sitting here, it's such a big problem.
The cost of capital on returns is immense.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
well, and honestly, that's what I love about this industry. There's a lot of founders, and I don't fault them. They want to start a company, sell it, start a company and sell it. I would slug it out here for as long as I can because there's so many problems to solve. We will never be bored. Like, you wake up every day, there's another problem.
That is very true,
I don't think
especially as
we'll
things change.
Oh, right. Change is happening.
We don't even know what some of those problems are.
That's right.
What those challenges are that are going to come down the pipe.
100%. So,
Well, Bill, thank you so much for joining me here at Home Delivery World. We're in the OneRail booth, and it's exciting to see because you've got so many people that are excited to talk to you about your platform. And so I appreciate you for coming on the show today.
appreciate everything you do. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Bill.